want to have a rant? I was doing my downshifting, my power shifting, and my quick slide. And I was moving my ass over to Teaneck, where we have my kids, to go pick them up at the daycare. And they had closed down 95. My ex wound up picking up my kids, calling me on the cell phones. We just had enough power and raced back home. And we lived in Elizabeth at the time, and we watched the towers burn for 3 days. Which, you know, it's ironic because wood doesn't burn for 3 days unless you have some other combustible in there, and especially if you don't have air, something else is burning. But this sucker, we could watch it burning for 3 whole days, and it was like intense fire. And then the smoking effects after the fact was incredible, you know. And the fact that all 3 towers came down, three items came down, because it was. We understand Tower 1 came down, Tower 2 came down, and then we had Tower 7 that came down out of nowhere, miraculously. And they fell down the same way that Tower 1 and 2 came down. So, I don't know. Very questionable. What do you think happened? I think the glorious Bush and his innate plan to create some collateral damage, invoke the people and try to get them after their hearts and minds, to try to go after somebody who didn't even belong in the fight. Because if it was Afghanistan who fought, we were already trying to find Osama anyway, and now we had a third reason to involve somebody else. We went after a country who wasn't even involved in this thing. We just said, oh look, they got yellow cake, and the yellow cake turned out to be chatter from ourselves that the Italians picked up and the Germans picked up, and they go, oh, it must be true. And they verified the lie that we were just putting out there. It's got a lot of legs. It's got a great deal of legs. It's where Halliburton and a lot of other companies who created these supposed schools and hospitals, when the Senate came up and said, well, we're going to need some information about you guys and putting this stuff out there. And they said, well, we would like to show you where it's at, but because of security reasons, we can't tell you where they're at, because we can't tell you where they're being built. And even after the fact, the auditing team went out there and couldn't prove that they had actually built anything. So it's incredible, you know. And it's so much documents, so much information, so much disinformation that's put out there. You don't know where to fight. You don't know who's doing what to whom. Because it doesn't benefit the power of the be. It doesn't benefit those who are looking for answers. You know, we quickly hushed up the information. You know, Bush had his idea of, well, if you're not with me, you must be against me. And that came back from the days of Senator McGovern was out there, and he would go out and tell the people that when they were searching for communists, well, if you don't like what I'm saying, you must be a communist. Everybody, you know, kept answering in that defensive manner. And in fact, what happened is that he wound up being turned up as being the person who was doing all the ranting and raving, because he had something to hide. So he wound up going to jail.
I don't think the government had anything to do with it. I hope not. I think that it was definitely a terrorist attack, obviously. Metropolitan area was a horrible, terrible thing for us to experience. And I had Teletubbies on or something at the time because my kids were so young. And a friend called me and said, you know what's going on? Then I turned the normal station on and saw the second plane hit the building and so on and so forth. And I was so distraught. I knew so many people in the city, I couldn't even think of somebody to call immediately because it was so upsetting and, you know, crazy to see what was going on. I believe more than 3 buildings went down that day. There were several buildings that were affected by the situation. Right?
A whole nickel just for you, man.